What is going on, guys? We're back with another video here today. As promised, we are going to be working on the Beamer, my E90 M3. I believe it's an 09, and she's got some miles on her, even though she looks like she doesn't have that many miles on it. But as you can see, she looks good for her age. Not too shabby. I had to replace the tow hook cover there in the front, because it flew out one day in the highway, so I had to get one, and it came painted already, and the color is pretty spot on to what's on the car, obviously, which I believe this is an Alpine white. But I mean, the car's pretty clean. I probably put maybe 4,000 miles or 3 on this car since I bought it, and it's holding up really well. I do want to get a ceramic coated again. The only thing though, oh, you guys can't even see me because it's so dark in here. Anyways, the only thing I want to do is the roof. So this is wrapped in carbon, but it is old and the sun has been beating on it. So I do want to get this replaced at some point right after we actually fix what's wrong with the car. So for the Beamer, guys, y'all know one of the main things that go wrong on these cars is that stupid center support bearing, and this car in particular is having the same issue. First couple thousand miles is no issues, no problems, car drove great, and then I started hearing a slight bell sound here and there, and now it's getting to the point where pretty much as you're driving, it just sounds like the drive shaft is basically scraping on, I guess, the heat shields, because this has the exhaust, the heat shield, and then the drive shaft by the looks of it. So it looks like it's scraping on the actual heat shield. So today the goal is basically get the car up in the air, get something underneath the back tire so I have a little bit of a lift, because I need to get access to all the exhaust bolts that go along the bottom, basically. Get that off, and then more than likely we're gonna have to get some custom sockets, because I know these lights are used to star bits a lot, but I'm not too sure when it comes to like the exhaust and the drive shaft. So as we get into it, we'll figure out what we need. I'll go to my job and get the tools that I need to finish the job. Obviously, we're not gonna finish it today, so we got plenty of time. By the time this video comes out though, the whole point is to have the drive shaft done. So that gives me the whole weekend basically, because I believe I'm gonna put this video out on Monday for you guys. So we got plenty of time to get it done. And then once that's done, then we can start tackling the rest of the problems, which is very minor stuff, but at least we get it done. And then this car is gonna be autocrossed. So the point of this car is daily duties and autocrossing. So I'm gonna have some fun with it, take it to the autocross events, and then see what it does until we get the Raid ACR, the SRT4 done, and then that will kind of take over that. So, but for now, we can have some fun with this car. All right, anyways, let's get this car up on the air. I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod. I'm gonna get it up on the air and start taking up some of the stuff underneath so we can get access to this drive shaft. Just kidding, guys, we're actually at the shop now. So you can see I have the car on the lift, the 2-post, because I tried to put it on the ground and lift the back end up, but I need to get more access deeper into the car, and it's just wasn't working out. So we came to the shop. Obviously it's not the same day, so we're at the shop now. I got the car on the lift. We're gonna lift it all the way up so we can take a look underneath and really get a good view of what we need to do to get the exhaust off, the shield that's between the drive shaft and the actual exhaust. There's a whole metal shield. I want to get that off, and then I can really see the entire drive shaft before. It wasn't going to happen before, because on the floor the car is like this basically. The front end is still on the ground, and honestly you couldn't get a very good leverage or anything like that when it comes to accessing the bolts. So two posts is the way for this job, at least for me. Maybe if you can lift all four corners, will make it a lot easier, but we have a 2 post, right, that we can access every now and then. So might as well take advantage of it, use it, and work a lot more comfortable. And we got way more tools here, so you can see, to play with. So yeah, I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod now officially. We'll get the car up on the air, and then we'll start tearing down stuff. Got the AC going. I'm about to have the music going. So you guys are gonna get some nice copyright-free music, you know? I'm gonna be jamming out to something else though, so tripod. Alright guys, so you just saw me lift the car up, kind of going over the whole car and just taking a quick look at all the suspension components, bushings, all that, kind of seeing if there's anything that needs to be replaced right away. As far as the back goes, pretty well, no problems back here for the most part, other than the noisy noise that we got going on somewhere in this drive shaft area. So we'll figure that out. I gotta get the light on too so you guys can see. But yeah, underneath this car is pretty good. No rust that I can see, like rust buildup like most cars from like the north or whatever. I don't really see anything like that, so that's pretty good considering this car has I want to say about 120,000 miles. So it looks like on the Carfax, I think it was pretty much a Florida car all its life from what I could remember. I bought a few cars that year, so I don't really remember as far as the specs on all of them, but this one in particular underneath, it definitely shows that it hasn't been up north, because I mean everything is pretty crispy looking, you know, it's nice. But we did uncover a few things. For starters, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this here, but let's look up. If you know, if you have a BMW, you already know what I'm about to say. But I think you can kind of see a little bit of it right on that bolt where the light is flashing. Yep. Typical BMW. We got ourselves a valve cover leak. And considering this is the V8, we got 2 valve cover leaks because it's on both sides. So that should be an easy job. Now I do know these cars, I believe they have a plastic valve cover, and given the mileage on this car, I think I'm gonna just get some brand new valve covers and the gasket. That way we know there's no warpage or anything like that happening on the valve cover itself. But surprisingly, the oil pan does look good. Oil pan is perfect there. Bushing wise, 120K, and from what I can see, most of these bolts are not turned at all, which to me will mean that these are original 2009, I think these is, bushings, and they're not really showing any stress cracking or anything. So good job to you BMW for building that properly. But y'all can't still figure out the damn oil leaks on these cars, because I can't even tell you how many times I've seen BMWs, especially through my job, come in with either the oil filter housing leaking, valve cover leaking, or the oil pan leaking. Sometimes all three are leaking. It's crazy. But yeah, we're gonna figure that out. That's an easy job. Oh yeah, this here, another thing we found was this bushing. Only these bushings right here on the sway bar, they are showing stress marks, cracks. So we'll just replace that before it becomes a bigger issue. So we'll do both of those. And then the biggest thing that I just found, which I'm pretty glad I got it up in the air, is, you know, these tires are old, but they still have some meat on them. This one's good, no problems, right? Right? But let's look at the other side here. What is that? Look at that giant crack happening on the tire, and I can see the metal in there. So definitely the next thing to do is going to be get new tires put on this rim. I'm going to do the two fronts first. I do want to take this car autocrossing. That is going to be, it's going to be a daily / autocrosser for me for a little bit. So we're going to get the two fronts replaced, because we can't be rolling around in that tire. That's just a matter of time before it becomes a real problem. And the last thing I want to do is be on the side of the road with a flat tire. So literally, I'm going to go home, order the tires, and then when the tires come in, put the tires in the car and take it to work, and then have one of the guys do it for me, since they don't let me do it myself. Gotta love it. But we'll have one of the guys install those two tires, and we should be good to go. I already replaced one of these because it had a nail and I couldn't fix it. Yeah, so this one's a brand new tire. Newer. It's the newer tire out of these two. So this maybe has, I want to say 400, 500 miles on it. So what I'll do is I'll replace the two fronts, and then I'll replace this one also. That way all the tires are pretty much brand new, aside from that one being, you know, like 400 or 500 miles old, whatever. Still pretty new. But so we'll do that. That way we know all our tires are money. But yeah, guys, what did I buy here? I got Pilot Sport. Yeah, these are the Pilot Sport Super Sport. Pilot Super Sports. So we'll just get that whole around. Brand new tires, we don't gotta worry about it. Brakes are phenomenal. They are pretty new. They do make noise, but whatever. There's no, I don't see any markings or anything on the road, so we'll just let it ride out. And that's it really, guys. That's it. Let's get busy. I gotta get this exhaust out the way. By the looks of it, I'm gonna have to, I got the two bolts there. Luckily we have those special socket star looking nonsense that BMW came out with. Then we gotta unplug these O2 sensors somehow. We'll figure out where that is. Take this heat shield off. Heat shield off. This heat shield off. That'll give me access to the O2 sensors, hopefully. Then we have that connection there. From what I can see, we have this connection here that we gotta get out. So we'll unbolt that, and then everything else is just hangers on hangers on hangers. So there's two hangers there. There's another hanger here. With what looks to be a ground wire on there. Probably for the exhaust flapper stuff. Or who knows, I don't know. So actually, we should have some sort of connector somewhere. Because I know this opens up, I believe. Well, we'll figure it out. No worries. No worries. Easy enough. So yeah, we'll probably do that. We got stands back here. We got this stand right there. We got the tranny jack right there, so I can put the tranny jack on the big section of the exhaust under the car, and then I'll use the that one to kind of hold this in place while I unsecure the bushings, and then that should allow me to lower everything. But luckily I just ran the car, so for the most part this car, at least the exhaust, is kind of warm. So hopefully these bolts will come out easier. Anyways, tripod, because everything's getting loud now. Alright guys, so real quick, as you saw, so we got the rear section off. So real simple, if you're planning to do this, the way I did it at least, took these bushings off, put some like soapy water, that way it can slide a little easier off the muffler hanger thing. Now these are crusty as hell, so they are starting to crack a little bit. So we're gonna definitely look into replacing those later on. Here we got a 13. Hopefully your exhaust is the same as mine. But we got a 13 nut there. Just, you know, loosen it almost all the way, and then you can slide it out of the mating spot. That way you can loosen the muffler section. Up here, there's a ground wire, but these are 13mm nuts also. And the grounds go in the front, well, on the rear stud. So like that. So we go on the rear studs, the grounds on both sides, and then 13s. And now here, now this was missing these two bolts, which I believe they're 8mm, kind of like these. So we got to replace those, but those were missing, so I didn't have to worry about that. But then we have two, well, I believe they are E10. So it's a special type of bolt, E10, because it's that start looking bolt like this. Well, it's this bolt. Looks all like a little star basically, right? The good news is if you don't have an E10, these are pretty much slightly above hand tight, so you could get away with using an 8mm socket and it will fit over the bolt, no problems. Typically with the E style bolts, you can use a millimeter socket that's 2 less than what the E number calls for. So for example, an E10 would be an 8mm, an E12 would be a 10mm, so on. Now, it's not the right way of doing it because you could potentially strip the head, but so far personally I've never had a head strip on me on one of those bolts. Like I said, don't be trying to take no crazy tight bolt, not using the proper E series nuts, sockets, the proper E series sockets, because you will more than likely strip the head off that bolt. So for example, like a crankshaft bolt, I'm sure that bolt will be on there real tight. So the last thing I would want to do is tell you to use a normal socket on that style bolt. You're gonna have to get the proper tools. But for things like what I'm doing today, it doesn't seem like stuff is super tight so far. So you could get away with using a normal socket, just being 2 numbers underneath. So like I said, an E10 would be an 8mm. Another example would be a E12 would be a 10mm, okay? Just remember that. It might save you if you're in a pinch and you can't drive anywhere to get that special socket. You might get away with just using a normal socket. But anyways, let's continue on. The next step here is gonna be take out this little support in the center. Those look like probably 13s again, if I'm not mistaken. Let's double check. That way you guys are ready to go. All right, so these look like 13s, and they are 13s. Perfect. And then we have, that can stay there. There's no reason to take that off. Okay, we have another slight hanger here. Also a 13, so that's beautiful. Now here's one of those where I probably wouldn't want to use a normal socket just because it's an exhaust bolt, but I'm gonna see how tight it is and I'll let you guys know in the next clip. But yeah, we'll take that off. I'm gonna take the shield off. That's probably like a 15 or 16, I bet. And then these here, little star bits. You gotta love all these random style bolts. Just why, you know? That's all. It's just why. Why do we need to go that route? Unnecessary. Anyways, so we'll get these off, get those off, get this big panel off, which is heavy, so be careful. These are pretty heavy. And then we'll look into getting this off. It shouldn't be too difficult. Bunch of 8 mils and 10 mils probably. And then we'll have access to the O2 sensor plugs. That's the goal, because we have an O2 right here that we need to unplug before we get this off. And we also have an O2 over here. So before and after the cat on both sides.
Loving the fact I'm American. They tell me that I need a therapist, and lately I've been acting arrogant. I've been in the car doing it my way, pushing, flipping triple digits on the highway. We could probably take it back to my place, and I'll show you what it's like to live with my name. Yeah. They try to tell me that I never listen, always been the type that made my own decisions.